In the heart of Dixie where the eagles fly, land of the brave where the bullets don't lie. We fought for our freedom with guns by our side. Red, white, and blue, our southern pride. Raise the flag high, let freedom ring from the rolling mountains to the flatlands. We sing, no one can take our rights. Our Second Amendment will defend our land. With every bullet we stand. We were born in the USA, land of the free, with guns in our hands. Will forever be Southern blood runs deep through our veins. We'll stand tall for America till the end of our days.
Well, hey there. I'm Sully, and as always, welcome back to the Gun Club. Hope y'all are having a wonderful time. Hope everybody is safe and warm as we deal with the first great winter snowpocalypse of 2026. I know here where I'm at, we got some annoyance, some ice. It's more of a hazard than it is anything worth playing in. We didn't get snow. We got just sleet and ice and nastiness and a little bit of slip and slide on the way home from work this morning, but not too bad. It took me about twice as long as it usually did because I just grannied it home at about 25, 30 miles an hour. I did a little bit of sliding, but nothing too bad. Again, I grew up driving in this stuff, so kind of familiar with it. Just took it real easy and worked through it like that. Tonight is going to be a little bit of a change of pace. I'm not covering news so much, although it's related to a news event that's been out there. Talking a little bit to our pastors, our churchgoers, our sheepdogs, our security teams at churches. You know, a lot of churches, I've done classes for security teams, protecting the congregation, defending the congregation. I've taught some CWP classes for them, also taught some tactical medical classes for them, trying to help them be prepared for, if the worst happens. And again, I got, some interesting phone calls last week on Sunday afternoon, Sunday evening, Sunday night, and subsequently a couple calls Monday from some of the people I've had as students in class. I freely give out my phone number, and they were talking about some stuff because it was just something changed last week. A week ago today, January 18th, 2026, there was a major change in our country. There was something I will consider a sentinel event of sorts. And when I call it a sentinel event, it is a major change. And when we think about things that have had major implications, major changes, I hate to say it, but the closest one I can come up to compare this event to is the Columbine shooting. Prior to Columbine, anytime there was a gun involved incident at a school, it was likely a hostage or a standoff or something like that. It wasn't actively killing and going on. Columbine changed that. Instead of seeing the students as hostages or bargaining chips or something they could use for leverage, they were just trying to stack as many bodies as they could. Well, there was a sentinel event that occurred a week ago today, and that was the incident that occurred at City's Church in St. Paul, Minnesota, when a church sanctuary, a congregation at worship, was stormed by protesters. We're going to say protesters, agitators, whatever. It doesn't matter where we're at on the whole ICE political spectrum thing. That is the least of our concerns. Up until January 18th, up until a week ago, churches were considered like not fair game. You just don't go after a church. And who would storm into the sanctuary of a church? Or if we're not going to use the word storm, who would go into a church to scream and yell at people? who would go into a church to basically, I don't want to say threaten, but intimidate to, you know, that was a safe thing. That was just not done. It was not on the menu. Nobody would do that. So we could, to a point, feel relatively safe. They might storm a movie theater, they might storm a Burger King, they might storm a, you know, Mexican restaurant or whatever, but might storm a Target or go have a sit-in at Target. Yeah, whatever. But not a church. That wasn't going to happen. It didn't happen. Folks, a week ago it did. Something that we thought was unthinkable, it was thought of and it was done. And that was, a bad thing, a very bad thing. And it has changed a little bit of the outlook, overall. And again, I mean, for years, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, 40 years ago, when I was growing up, we didn't think anyone would go shoot up a church. But subsequently, it's happened. And now a lot of congregations have church protection teams, have safety teams, whatever the case may be. They've taken steps to harden the target, as you know, I like to put out. But this was a different thing. This wasn't just an attack. It was not like a violent attack, but it was kind of an intimidation, but it was also not just going in there and trying to shoot it up. No, they went in there to intimidate, to scare. I hate to use the word terrorize, but if you see some of the pictures, you can make the decision for yourself where it fits on the scope. But the thing we're dealing with now, again, as protectors, as the shepherds of the congregation, as the pastors, as the people on the church protection team, the sheepdogs. Again, this is a letter to the sheepdogs. This is something y'all need to be talking about. We never saw this happening. So chances are, because it never happened, we didn't plan for it. And we're going to talk a little bit about how you plan for it and things that need to be going on, discussions you need to be having, whether it's this week or at your next meeting or at the next whatever, or you need to maybe call a special meeting among your church protection team and say, we need to discuss this. The reason partially is because it has happened. People have seen online it's happened. I've got some video clips from it. But also, people have been in the Twitter sphere talking about how this is the new normal. We can hit them in the congregation. This is where we'll go after them now. Do I think it's likely to be repeated? Columbine never happened until it did, and now what do we got? Nobody ever snuck anything that went boom on an aircraft until they did, and then it got to be kind of commonplace for a while. Nobody ever flew planes into towers, but then it did. Well, guess what? We have to plan on this. And as our protectors of the congregation, the sheepdogs, if you will, need to be aware, need to plan on this. So as everyone's filing in, I see we got a few of our big regulars in tonight. Mary, welcome aboard. As she says, please hit the like button, share this out, share this with your church-going friends. Even if you would never darken the doorway of a sanctuary whatsoever, that's fine, that's cool. We still love you, we still want you here. But share this with your friends, because the travesty that happened a week ago represents a major change in the world, in my opinion. So definitely. And again, share it out. Get this video out. Also, as we get ready to get started here, I want to give a huge shout out to our friends over at Blackout Coffee. Blackout Coffee, you see them got coffee boxes all over behind me here. We got a little Steven Crowder, Strange Animal above my head. We've got the Charlie Kirk Unyielding Roast up here. And of course, Gun Owners of America. No compromise over there. Folks, Blackout Coffee, they kind of help make some of this stuff possible. They've got not only amazing coffee, great flavors. We've got a butterscotch toffee there. You can kind of see the yellow box over my shoulder. all kinds of flavors, all kinds of blends. Plus, the great thing is you're supporting an American based company that supports our 2A rights. They donate money to GOA. How many lawsuits does GOA do to try to keep our gun rights intact? So, yeah, we support Blackout. They support our 2A rights. Whether it's the FPC blend, their GOA blend, any of their other stuff. And we can tell you this, if you use promo code Sully, you can get 20% off your first order. So that's definitely always a big one for you. So yeah, got to give them a big shout out. Thanks to Blackout Coffee for making this stuff possible, for helping us out, and for supporting the people who support our rights. And not, like I said, not only that, it's damn good coffee. But, so okay, what happened in Minneapolis? Well, a group of anti ICE demonstrators, protesters, whatever we'll call them, went into a church in St. Paul, Minnesota. It's the city's church. I gather it's sort of a fairly non denominational, fairly laid back congregation. And they thought or believed, or for whatever reason, that someone who was very active in the church was um, also an ICE agent of some kind. So, yeah, definitely, yeah. Yeah, Mary or Mel. Yeah, nothing's sacred. I'll agree. And they crossed the line. This is a Rubicon in the sand. You know. And when I see people on the Twitter sphere talking about how, hey, look at what we did, they're proud of this. Yeah, strange things to be proud of, people. But they went out and they wanted to make someone uncomfortable. They wanted to go out and make their point. So, okay, here is, them making their point, going into a church, which again, I never would have believed it was going to happen. You couldn't have made me think it was going to happen. But we've got this video clip. And again, this is from Speak Minneapolis. Check this out. There you go.
Renee good! Renee good! Renee good! Renee good! Renee good! Hands up! Don't shoot! 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 Shame on you! Shame on you! Shame on you! This is the house of God, and
If that doesn't make you feel some kind of way, nothing should. The gentleman, as you saw on the video, who got up there, long beard, had like reflective striping on a sweatshirt, he's since been arrested. The organizer of the protest has since been arrested, but apparently it's misdemeanor charges right now. There are potentially more federal charges coming down. There's a lot that's coming down potentially. However, regardless of this, I think we all know that many of these groups don't seem to care about what charges they get put on them or how it goes. Now, Assistant Attorney General for Civil Rights, the lovely and ever so talented Harmeet Dillon, y'all know that's one of my idols. That's one of my superstars. She has gotten very involved in this. But I want you to look at this picture of a family. And again, I can't tell what race that the male is. I can't tell what race the young boy is. The mother or the female involved appears to be Asian descent. This is what these people look like in their church in their sanctuary. Dad protecting his son. Woman doesn't know what's going on. Look a little ways back. Young girl, I guess, looking towards her mother. What's going on? This is something that happened. That picture right there, absolutely. That 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 fries me. It really does. How dare they? How dare they? And again, there's no decency. Nothing is sacred. And yeah, they have no idea what the word sacred means. And it's the I often try to tell people evil exists. Two words, live by it, understand it's out there. This front row seat to it. Evil exists. That young boy, and again, we think about this. This is Minnesota. Not too long ago, there was a person who shot up a church in Minnesota during a school back at the back to school thing with a bunch of first graders in it. They were shooting into a church. So I'm sure they've heard all about that in the news. And now there's people talking about hands up, don't shoot. Now, there was no gunplay involved in it, but this kid's hearing someone talk about shooting. Yeah. They invaded, they desecrated the sanctuary. They, in my opinion, terrorized. For what it's worth, I'll use the word fucking terrorized. Sorry, YouTube. Some days I don't bite my tongue. There's no excuse for it whatsoever. That's ridiculous. We know it was happened to be an anti-ICE protest in this case, but it could have been any extreme group. Who knows? Who knows what group's going to use it next to push whatever agenda they have next? We've seen pro-abortion groups outside churches. Now are they going to go in? We've seen different other extremist groups outside churches. Are they going to go in? Nobody that I had seen regularly made aggressive entry until this. I've not seen it. Now, I may be wrong. If I am, please throw me under the bus in the chat. I'll deal with that. But, folks, as the sheepdogs, the protectors of the congregation, something we need to sort of come up with. These individuals, I'm just going to call it that because I'm trying to be good here, they thrive on the fact that the shock value, that the sheer audacity of their plan caught everybody flat-footed. No one thought it would happen, so there was not a plan for it. No one knew what to do. The pastor tried to tell them to stop, tried to tell them to get out. There was international newsreader Don Lemon who was who I've got clips of him. He goes up and sticks a microphone on the pastor's face and starts questioning him and his beliefs in human rights and how he can be a man of God if he supports this, that. Yeah. Don Lemon, they tried to get him charged. He has not been yet. We can see how that's going to play out this week. But regardless of charges, regardless of anything else, the decision by radicals to make entry and terrorize, accost, pick your verb, people in a house of worship, those of us who are sheepdogs, the congregational protectors, etc., need to be ready, need to have our game plan up. And that is, Mel, I do believe you just offended something. At least feces serves a purpose in life. Those of us who are congregational protectors need to have our game plan ready. Our security team at our church needs to be ready. We need to talk about this. And there's a few things we need to sort of figure out and come up with, along the way. First off, we know they rely on the element of surprise, catching the good guy's flat-footed. What do you mean you're doing this in a church? So we need to talk about it, need to come up with a game plan. One of the big things you need to do is definitely discuss this situation with your local law enforcement. What is your state's trespassing statute? A church, by general definition in most states, and again, not an attorney, check your local listings, um, a church is considered a semi-public building. The reason it's a semi-public building is it's generally open to the public, much like Acme Big Box or Bob's Grocery Store or, the corner Quickie Mart is a semi-public building. Yes, it's open to the public routinely. You don't have to necessarily ask permission to walk in. However, in the eyes of the law, if a person or persons in charge or apparently in charge asks you to leave, it's not like public property like a public park where you say, no, it's public property, you can't make me leave. It's a semi public building. Find out where churches fit in your state. Talk to your local law enforcement, or if you've got an attorney on staff, many churches may have a contact or someone in the congregation who's familiar with criminal law. What are the standards? What do the statutes say? Have a plan. Build your plan based on that information. Secondly, once you know, okay, we have to tell them to leave. It's a semi-public building. They're allowed to walk in, but once we tell them to leave, they have to, or they're trespassing after notice. Generally, is the way I know the law to be where I've worked. So, okay, you go into Acme Big Box Store. Forget it's a church. We're going to go into Acme Big Box Store. You do something that's offensive for whatever reason. Let's say you choose to open carry your firearm. I do sometimes. The manager or the manager on duty or whoever comes over says, look, sir, we appreciate you coming in and everything, but we don't want you carrying that big pew pew in here. Technically, I can't argue about my rights or anything else to do it in public because it's his store. He's apparently in charge. He can't necessarily tell me I can't carry the gun, but he can tell me I can't stay in his store. And if I stay after being told to leave, trespassing after a notice. That's the same way that, when they were trying to, oh God, I hate to bring this up, but when they were trying to make everyone wear masks in XYZ grocery store, and they say, okay, if you want to come in, you have to wear a mask. And people say, you can't make me wear a mask. I know my rights. That's fine. Don't come in the store. You're now banned. Done. Do I agree with it? No, but that's the way the law is. If you wish to go into their semi-public building, you have to obey their laws, obey their rules, their regs, their policies, whatever the case may be. I may have to not carry my open carry. Someone else may have to wear a mask. They may tell someone else to go put on more modest clothing because they don't want some idiot running around in there in, Daisy Dukes and we'll just say her natural gifts hanging out. That's fine. That's their building. They have the right to say that. As long as they're not saying it for like a illegal reason, like the color of your skin or your gender or something like that. That would be illegal to throw someone out for that. But that's because that's a civil rights violation. So from the church side, find out, okay, what's our building considered? How is it? Do we have to give them a notice? Yes, okay. What notice do we have to give them? Do we just have to say, look, you're not welcome here, you need to leave? Great. Also, again, discussing it with your local law enforcement. What is their plan on the whole thing? Many times, law enforcement will, and again, it's a field expediency matter, they'll come out and I told so and so to leave this building. He's not. They'll go out there and they'll basically say, sir, I need to make you leave because if you don't walk out with me, then I have to arrest you for trespassing after a notice, and I don't want to make an arrest. Let's face it, tying up officers for several hours on an arrest or a transport for a trespassing charge, it's, again, not field expedient. So we understand that. But talk to your local law enforcement and say, look, we've got concerns. This has happened. Our team wants to come up with a plan. We want your input on it. We want to build everything. Legal input, law enforcement input. We want the people who we're calling to back us up because we know we're in the right. We want the people who are coming to back us up to be on the same page of the playbook. So, yeah. And again, go through that. What are the rules? What do we have to do? Now, next question for your law enforcement and or a local attorney. If we tell them, look, Joe Smith comes in and he's protesting whatever, and we say, look, Joe Smith is not welcome here. We've told him to leave. He won't. What type of force can we legally use to get rid of Joe Smith? Your state laws may say none. Your state laws may say you can use simple force, but not deadly force. For example, your ushers can walk over, 2 or 3 ushers can say, Mr. Smith, you've been told to leave. You've refused to. We are now going to physically remove you. And they may take him and walk him out the door. They may do so by force. What is your law? Understand what you can and cannot do. Understand what's going to happen and build your plan. Again, you're seeing a lot of this. Build your plan. Build your plan. Why? Because it's going to happen again. It's going to happen. Coming soon to a sanctuary near you. I hate to say it. I've watched too much of it. Now, beyond that, you and your team and your congregation and your pastor, whatever else, need to come up with what is your red line? How far will you let these people go if they come in? Is it going to be zero tolerance? You come in, you stand up, 10 seconds of chatting, they're gone? Or are we going to let them come in and chant and say, okay, we've given you 2 minutes, 3 minutes, but you're gone now? Or is it we'll let them chant, we don't want to get physical with them unless they get physical first? What is your red line and how far are you willing to go? Because what happens with all this, and you keep hearing me say build a plan, the response has to be ready to go. The response has to be uniform. If John the usher over there says, man, I'm not letting them walk in the door at all. I'm stopping them at the door. They come in chanting, I'm dragging someone out. And meanwhile, the pastor says, well, I'm going to let them be heard for a few minutes. And someone else over there says, well, I don't want to get in a physical confrontation, so I'm going to run out the other way. John has no backup. This church security team possibly even come up with a saying or a code word from the pastor of, okay, when I say this, we'll do it to this level. If I call this, we'll start walking them out. If I say this, we may use pepper spray. Who knows? And again, we have to all be on the same page of the playbook because everybody, when we respond to this, they walked in there, they had their playbook. It was 20, 30 people, 40 people acting as one. Every video we've seen, they came in and boom, they were all on the same page of the playbook. They knew what they were doing. And that overwhelming show of force, or that overwhelming, was what put everyone in the church on their back foot. They weren't ready for it. Wow, all these people are doing it. I'm getting it from 5 different directions. What I want the churches and the congregational protectors and the sheepdogs to say, okay, the pastor just said, I'm telling you now you need to leave. Okay, that means we do this. Okay, leave or you're going to be removed. We do this. Gentlemen, remove them. We do this. And again, how far will they be allowed to go? Maybe they'll let them chant. Maybe they'll say, look, I'm not going to do anything unless they get physical with us. Let's not get physical with them unless they get physical with us. I don't agree with that approach. I think that's laying down and taking it. But How does this play out? How does this play out in the media? Because you're going to be on camera, you're going to be on tape. You notice they're all holding cameras. And one big thing you always want to think about is, you know, if they're going to have cameras, they're going to be on tape, you need to not argue with them. This is not the time to reason or logic with them. Any group that would go in en masse into a sanctuary and interrupt a service, we're past the point of logic. We may be passive and say, okay, we'll turn the other cheek. And that's what your church elders, your pastor, your deacons, whatever, the first bishop of the Church of the Flying Squirrel, don't care. If that's what they want to do, fine. That's the game plan. Everyone needs to be on that page of the playbook. On the other side of that coin, if, your pastor wants to break out a little bit of hellfire, that can be arranged too. They may get a little bit of side of spicy spray. Yeah. But it needs to be as unified of a response and a uniform response where everybody knows this is what we're going to do and this is how we're going to do it. And maybe, again, depending on the size of your congregation, your safety team, maybe the plan is, hey, when this happens, start getting the women and children over in the corner to a safe spot. We're going to use this as their safe spot. And these 5 people are going to be corralling women and children to the safe spot. And these 5 people, who may be a little bit more younger, a little bit more physically fit, a little bit more willing to get into a hands-on confrontation, are going to start grabbing their leaders and walking them out the door. And if they try to lie down, drag them out the door by their clothing. Grab the scruff of their neck, grab the back of their collar. Say, look, you're coming. Hell, grab a leg. Drag them. It's fun. Honestly, think about it. If that happened in a church when I was growing up, I know for a fact there would have been several men who would have stood up rather quickly and said, excuse me, stop this now. But we all need to be on the same page of the playbook. So yeah, definitely. Again, you can look at what's happened with this. I mean, the gentleman with the beard who goes up, and you can see their approach is so much as far as they're ready for what they're going to do. They're marching in unison. And again, play this out in your church. How do you think it would go? Okay, so we look at this real quickly here. You look, they got one group going up one side of the sanctuary, one group going up the other side. They're going to get to the front and then start chanting. They had a playbook. This was organized. Now, I see the comment, yeah, tell me he knew to be right there. Oh, it was clearly planned in advance, and he's basically admitted it on video, which that may not bode real well for him. Quite frankly, conspiracy to deny civil rights is what the Klan Act of 1871 was written for, and it's also what the FACE Act was written for. The FACE Act very, very plainly states that, this is not acceptable behavior. So even though they didn't get the arrest warrant signed yet, I have a feeling it will be signed. But this has gone out all over the place. People have seen it and gotten into it and are all fun with it. So yeah, I agree. Feces is much more useful than Daniel and lemon. Yeah. Good evening, Silent. Welcome aboard. We're having a little chat about protecting our congregations, protecting our churches. Because, what we saw a week ago in Minnesota, I hate to say it, I don't want it to be a harbinger of things to come. I fear that it is. I've seen enough online and enough people very proud of what they did, including Lemonhead. And, you know, like I said, 3 people have been arrested. One of them is that William Kelly, that gentleman who is a paid professional protester. A few weeks ago, he was in DC and, you know, up there trying to confront National Guard, trying to provoke a response from them. And I mean, he's actually come right out and dared Pam Bondi to go after him. So I think it's kind of interesting to see this. Minnesota. Well, I saw an interesting commentary today from Nick Freitas. Nick, if you're not familiar, is a commentator on here. He is in the Virginia State House of Representatives. He is suggesting that possibly we could trade Minnesota for Alberta. We could give them all the refugees, immigrants, leftists, and commies that they love up in Canada. And meanwhile, get some normal people from Alberta, people like our friend Holly Midwife, and get some of the normal ones down here, and we'd get a bunch of oil and hardworking people, and we'd rescue them from the end of the leaf. So, yeah, so we don't necessarily pick it off. We just swap it out with Alberta. I'm good. We can do that. But and Harmeet Dillon has made it pretty abundantly clear that she's not all in about this stuff. Um, Here's her with on Benny Johnson's show. Benny got her on the show. Hats off to Benny because he did that within like hours of this happening. He was able to get Harmeet on, and here's our buddy Harmeet.
I know people are frustrated. Where are the arrests, et cetera? Let me explain that for you and your team, Benny, because state prosecutors could have arrested some of these people yesterday. They don't have some of the same hurdles that we do in the DOJ.
The state could have done it, but they chose not to. Big one.
DOJ, we gather our facts, we go to a federal judge has to issue the search warrants. We all know what the federal judges are doing right now in Minnesota. We will pursue charges in this case. I see various crimes that have occurred. Exactly what they are, I'm not going to flag, but the FACE Act has been mentioned as one of the predicates there. I know people.
So, yeah, I mean, they're very well aware of it. Like I said, 3 arrests have been made so far. I think we'll definitely be seeing more to come in the future. And again, if they want to go protest in Tarjay, fine. If they want to go protest whoever, that's fine. When they go ranting into churches, and we got a little bit of a problem here. Definitely a little bit of a problem. And we have this. Here he is, this schmuck.
Christians, all these comfortable white people who are living lavish, comfortable lives while children are dragged into concentration camps. You're living real life, nice lives with your lattes, doing absolutely nothing for your Latino and Somali brothers and sisters. You come here to a man wearing a suit. Is a preacher? Did Jesus wear a suit? Did Jesus profit off the words? No! Jesus would dine with immigrants. You do not touch me. Touch me again and see what happens.
Hey, you can't leave.
Note, touch me again and see what happens. Well, if he's been told to leave once, they may well be totally legit to touch him again and see what happens. Or don't leave and see what happens. They want the aggression, the element of surprise, kept everyone on their back foot. Okay. They've done it once. I don't want them to do it again. Or if they do, I don't want them to get away with it as well. I want that idiot with the F Trump hat on screaming, touch me again and see what happens, to get dragged out of there by his flea-infested beard. Yeah. I don't know. They got bonded out very, very quickly. We know what Minnesota is. But If they've done it once and they think they've gotten away with it, it's going to come back again. It's going to come back again. And what's this one here? Yeah. And what color are you, jerk? Somalis. I agree. And personally, I hope he's, had a wonderful time in lockup. I really do. I hope he got put in there, you know. But the thing is, he's, among the population in there, I'm sure he's a hero. And, he comes right out basically saying point blank that he dares Pam Bondi to go after him. I mean, this guy, he's a gutsy POS, I'll give him that. But, we cannot allow this to go unchecked. It cannot happen because, and here's Don the Lemonhead. He goes right up to the front. He confronts the pastor. Yeah, here we go.
What do you think of this?
I mean, this is unacceptable. It's shameful. It's shameful to interrupt a public gathering of Christians in worship. So,
But there were folks who will say,
I have to take care of my flock.
okay, but listen, we live there's a constitution in the First Amendment to freedom of speech and freedom to.
Okay, Don, you asshole. The Constitution's freedom of speech does not give you freedom of speech in a private building. No, there's a Constitution. There's freedom of speech. Yeah. Go on into Acme Big Box Grocery Store and start screaming out profanity. And guess what? You'll be asked to leave. What about your freedom of speech? Yeah. Not in their building. If they tell you to leave, you're trespassing after notice. And that's where, again, these congregations need to be in touch with the local law enforcement, need to be familiar with what's going on, and know where they can draw the limit on this kind of crap.
To assemble and protest.
Yeah. We're here to worship. We're here to worship Jesus because that's the hope of these cities. That's the hope of the world is Jesus Christ.
I want to be very respectful. Please don't push me, though.
We're here. We're here to worship Jesus.
Yes.
That's why we're here.
He says he's being very respectful. Please don't push him. He's not being very respectful. He's just stormed into their church and holding a mic in their preacher's face, quizzing him. That's not very respectful. Please don't push me. You need to leave now. And that would be as far as I would discuss anything with these groups. Seriously. Find out what you have to do to get to the trespassing statute, to cross that line. Leave now. Get out now. Well, what do you think about this? I think you need to leave now. Leave now. Get out now. And repeat that, repeat that, repeat that. If nothing else, that way, when they do show their tape online, because they will, it shows you telling them repeatedly to get out. Congratulations. Their own video is the evidence against them in court to make a criminal trespass charge stick. Oops. Sorry. You just gave us the evidence. Don't watch the rest of this shit show.
Okay, that's why we're here. That's what we're about.
Do you think Jesus would be understanding
we're about
and love these folks?
We're about spreading the love of Jesus.
But did you try to talk to them as a
no
Christian?
one is willing to talk.
Okay.
I have to take care of my church and my family, so I asked that you actually would also leave this building.
You don't want us to
unless you're here to
chronicle
worship. Unless you're here to worship.
I'm always worship. I'm a Christian.
We're here.
Yeah, he's a Christian. Now, go big screen for this one. If Don was going into the church to actually worship, or even bear witness, or maybe, help them on their posture, because I hear he's an expert at kneeling, that might be acceptable. To walk up in the pastor's face holding a microphone, videotaping, trying to get him to say something that they can use, yeah. Nay, nay, fluff, fluff. Nay, nay, fluff, fluff. You need to leave. And again, have everybody on your church team, your ushers, your security team, whatever you're going to call them, and, straight out, You need to leave. Leave now. Leave now. You need to leave. Get out. Leave now. You're not welcome here. And if they say, well, this is a church, I thought everyone's welcome. You're disturbing our service. You're not welcome. Leave now. Because guess what? It almost makes their video unpostable, unusable. Because if they do try to post the videos, it's showing the people who are the representatives of the church, giving them fair notice that they're trespassing. And again, it can and will be used against them in a court of law. And that's how you get the FACE Act, the Klan Act in. That's how you get simple trespass. I mean, I read the Minnesota trespassing statute. They clearly broke it. They tap danced all over it. So again, know your local statutes. Know what's going on. Divide your areas of responsibilities. These people are going to get the women and children and elderly over that direction. These people are going to confront, if that's what the plan is. Oh, by the way, so-and-so, after they get the women and children, his job isn't to say, does someone want me to call 911? No. His job is to be on the phone with 911. Get them out there while the idiots are still screaming at you. Get them out there while they're still playing games. The guy with the beard, touch me again, see what happens? Okay. So you've been asked to leave. You're not leaving, we're going to escort you out of the building. Touch me again, see what happens. I don't care how big and bad he is. I'm sure if 3 or 4 good-sized adult males could be more than happy. We even get a couple of adult females. 4-corner him, drag him out like a dead deer. I don't care. And maybe the steps are kind of cold and hard out in front of the sanctuary, and maybe he lands kind of rough. I'm sorry. But this needs to stop. It needs to be addressed. And congregations need to be aware of this. I talked to people this week, and they were not that aware of what had gone on with this. And it was really, I guess you'd say, kind of troubling to me because of the fact that with them not being aware, they're clearly not planning for it. And folks, if we're not planning for it, it's going to happen again. That's, the sad part that, I hate to say it, but what we allow to happen will be, continued. And here's the 3 of them who were arrested. We got to have our laugh here. Oh, look at this. Nikema Armstrong, who is an attorney, a preacher, and a civil rights activist. In the middle, we've got William, where his last name is Kelly. We're calling him William Smelly because I might have a few personal hygiene issues going on there. And I don't know who the other one is. But, again, just beyond ridiculous. Beyond ridiculous. And, you have this guy here.
So be it.
It's low hanging.
This guy. So, Pam Bondi, you want to come and arrest me? Here you go.
So, Pam Bondi, you want to come and arrest me? You want to come and give me charges? So be it.
It's low hanging fruit, but it still made me smile. I will not clap like a seal for low hanging fruit. Take this energy, take this aggression, double, triple, quadruple down, start climbing some branches, get up in there, and make some consequential arrests. And I don't mean to rain on anyone's parade, but this is just not satisfactory enough for me. I need more. I want more. I want to see politicians. I want to see public officials in handcuffs. That would really warm my soul. That would make me feel so warm and fuzzy inside. So this is good. This is good. But if you would like to satisfy the American public, we need to start climbing some branches here, okay?
I think
So, Pam Bondi, you want to come and arrest me?
I think we know where she is. But so he got his mugshots taken. And again, people are actually proud of this. They're bragging about doing this. And so the funny thing is, I doubt they'd ever do it to a mosque. I doubt they'd ever do it anywhere else. What's this? It's true. Yes, I agree. Time to definitely book Timmy. And who knows? Maybe if Timmy did a little while in a cell, maybe he'd have a use for his tampons. Stop the bleeding. Yeah. I'm getting weird looks from Mel. Yeah. Mary's not holding back. Yeah. But yeah, it's again, all joking, all nastiness aside, um, this is the history of that William Kelly, and this shows you how well this was organized, so to speak, because it really jumps out at me. Here he is. This is this POS.
So we've been invited to the local Somali mosque, and as you can see how beautiful it is.
Want everybody to get a good look at that guy. That's the woke farmer. That's the guy that was screaming and yelling in children's faces in that Christian establishment yesterday, in that church, that him and a bunch of paid BLM activists and Don Lemon orchestrated that attack on that church. He was one of them. He's a paid activist, a paid agitator. He travels from riot to riot, insurrection to insurrection. Just earlier, a couple of weeks ago, William Kelly, his real name, was in D.C. screaming and yelling and recording himself berating National Guard members. Here he is in New Orleans. Yep. Philadelphia, Colorado. He's all over the place. I'm sure he's been in Portland. I'm sure he's been in L.A. because he gets paid to do this stuff. He gets paid to engage in insurrections. The problem he has is now he's violated the FACE Act. He's violated the FACE Act, and storming and attacking a Christian church while he is celebrating the Somali mosques, which is where the people who are responsible for stealing anywhere between $9 and $18 billion from you and me and the American taxpayers and sending it back to Somalia so that Al-Shabaab could take their cut, defrauding all of us. An entire community effort. The whole community is in on it. Every one of them. They all know, they all use the services. It doesn't work if you don't go to a doctor as a Somali woman and require a translator, even though you can speak English. They bring the translator, and the translator can only bill for 8-hour increments. They don't need a translator, and the translator has to have a transportation service drive them there that can only bill for how many miles, plus they get paid via Medicaid and other HHS funding just to be a transport. I mean,
Yep. And the funny thing is, Mel, I see what you're saying, and sometimes the peacemaker needs to be a Colt 45 peacemaker, right? To say it. This is, I mean, you're looking at paid activists, planned it out. Don Lemon's on video talking with them outside, cheering them on before they do it. And, yep, saying, all right, you're right. I went there quick. Yeah. Mel, in case you didn't notice, Peacemaker was actually one of Sam Colt's lovely 45 caliber inventions. 45 long Colt, kind of like what Mr. Baldwin was using. But yeah, here's the prep for it. Tell me they're not all working on this together.
People who are wearing the uniform now, you think they're patriots?
I don't think so, especially those ICE agents.
That's what I'm talking
no.
about. Yeah. Well,
No, they're terrorists. They're traitors.
thank you guys. Thank you for your service. I appreciate.
Today we had the honor to protest with Nikema Armstrong and the Racial Justice Network. Just like Jesus did, we went into that church and we flipped tables.
Yeah, I hope they flip him in jail.
Peacefully. Where are you? Where are you? Where are you? Where are your people? Why are you not at Whipple every day fighting for the humanity, standing for our people? Where are you? You drink your coffee, you got your jewelry, you have your nice clothes, but what do you do? What do you do?
Now, I applaud this guy for standing there protecting his, other half, significant other, whoever he's protecting, may not even be related. I don't know. But don't let it go on. There needs to be more than him standing there. There need to be 2 or 3 people say, okay, sir, we've asked you to leave. Now we're going to make you. And when he says, touch me again, see what happens, show it to them. They don't understand anything but, you know. And yeah, I agree. He's an absolute traitor. And yeah, it's disgusting. It really is. But that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to put this out for our sheepdogs. Again, you need to talk about this. You need to pre-plan for this for your church. You need to talk to your local law enforcement, find out what do we have to do? What can we do legally? We don't want to give these idiots a legal leg to stand on. After we've told them 3 times, you need to get out, you need to leave, can we then get physical with them? You know, I'm not saying that we're going to use, you know, lethal force. Can we deploy pepper spray? Can we give them a little spicy? Or can we just grab their arms and 2 or 3 of us walk them out the door? And if he says, touch me again, see what happens, is that considered a threat? Can I escalate at that point to my spicy spray? Have the plan. Make sure everyone's on the same page of the playbook. When they come in and they think the element of surprise is in their favor, let them find out that the element of surprise, remember, as I teach all my congregations, when I teach the Protecting the Congregation class, the one biggest thing we have is we've got from now until whenever they do it to plan, train, and prepare. We're doing it on our turf, on our terms, and we need to have a plan custom made for our turf and our terms, and then as it goes out. Well, Mel, I agree with you, but it can affect some of the people around. But again, if we're working it where the women and children and the elderly are sort of getting corralled away while the other group of the younger, bigger ushers are starting to form that barrier line, we now can put the bad guys on that side of the line, the good guys on that side of the line, and now we have a much more free range of fire. And again, I'm not saying dump a whole canister or a, you know, big 40-ounce bear mace. I'm saying no. Just give Mr. Kelly there a squirt in the mouth and, you know, yeah. And again, what's the plan? You know, if the preacher goes up and says, yeah, if I say phase 1, we start segregating, evacuating, and moving people. If I say phase 2, you know, we start spraying. If I say phase 3, we start swinging chairs. You know, I mean, those chairs look like they were separate. You could almost wonder if he could pick one of them up and start using it like a lion tamer to just tame his mane right out the door. If he's got 4 posts coming out of his face, you know, maybe one hits him in the forehead and one on the throat. I'm good with that. I really am. Like I said, I know I haven't gone to church in about 40 years, but I can tell you, well, I haven't gone regularly. I've gone within the last 40 years, but not regularly. But I can tell you, back when I was going to church, yeah, there would have been some people standing up fast. And it would not have been a very pretty thing. Because, you know, I knew a lot of the people in our men's association, men's club who coach like CYA basketball and everything else. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Don Lemon would be on the ground in a minute. But, you know, well, at least on his knees in a minute. But like I said, you know, not in a, well, maybe in a worshiping mode. Who knows? But yeah. So the FACE Act of 1984 federal law makes it a crime to use force, threats of force, physical obstruction, or intentional property damage to interfere with or intimidate someone trying to exercise religious freedom at a place of worship. Looks like they did. Now, that's a 1 year, or I believe up to a year maximum sentence. But, yeah, the KKK Act makes it a federal crime to conspire to deprive anyone of their constitutional rights through force, threats of intimidation, you know, Imagine force, threats, or intimidation. They were deprived of their rights to worship by this interruption. It's a little bit of a stretch, but it's a 10-year sentence if they get it. Yeah. Do I think Don would get all 10 years? No. Would I like to see Don get put in jail or even put on probation for violating the KKK Act? Folks, there's a little poetic justice there. And I'll leave you with this. Imagine Democrats being charged for violating the KKK Act. It was written and passed in 1871 because of racist Democrats. Who knew, right? All righty. Well, that's what I've got for tonight. Folks, I appreciate you coming by. Again, share this out with your friends. Again, even if it doesn't directly affect you, if you're not the, holy rolling church going crowd, that's fine. That's cool. Whatever. No judgment whatsoever here. Because I'll definitely tell you I'm not. But on the other side of that coin, folks, something's got to give with this. It cannot be allowed to go on. It cannot be allowed to be repeated. Yeah. Yeah. That would be justice. Yeah, it would be. Folks, be smart, be safe. Thanks for coming out. I will see you again. We've got a lot of stuff coming out. It's going to depend on how work goes in the next few days because as we are dealing with the wonderful snowpocalypse here, and that can tend to make those of us in the public safety world very, very, very busy. So, y'all have a great night. Take care. Bye.